Okay, I'm going to take a bonsai run through this data since I forgot to include any kind of analysis of it in my video I just posted. So it's not quite midnight yet, so why not? Let's do this. The first thing we did was I needed, as I explained before, I needed to check and see if all my stuff was going to meet the tests for my, from a discriminant analysis. So I took a look at all my variables that I was going to check against that, and we're going to take a quick look at them. These are all the questions I'm comparing to study abroad potential, trying to predict whether these can, or try and find out if these can predict that. Just got our descriptive information here. Going to burn through that pretty quick and go right to my test of normality, since that is important to know if I can do the discriminant test. So Shapiro-Wilk, bam, 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 bam. All of these are coming up as very statistically significantly not normal. And our Kolmogorov-Smirnov is doing the same thing. So really, the discriminant test is not going to be that great. I ran it anyway just so I could see what would happen. So, but that's telling me right there, not too much to look at. I do see that this is kind of interesting on the question of acquiring a broad general education. Everybody pretty much signed in on these. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this. You'll notice that most people have a pretty good opinion of their school. Skip the QQ plots altogether. We looked, and I showed you that we were kicking some of these out for the discriminant test since they have outliers. Once again, got that nice right-handed skewness going on, which prevents us from being normal. There, it's a little more normal on that one. But I believe, yeah, that one had some outliers, so we kicked it out of our discriminant test as well. Slightly normal, only a little bit of a right-hand skew. And no outliers on that one, so I did include it. That one actually looks pretty good. We're real close to the mean of 2. I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, mean would be 2.5. So we're pretty close to it on that one. But it's a little wide, a little fat with its standard deviation. Okay, let's keep going. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time looking at the rest of these. Okay, here's where we ran the discriminant test. And I will admit this is getting a bit beyond my skill set here, so I'm going to hang on and do the best I can with this part. We kicked out 46 cases because they were missing at least one of the variables. That's okay. We still got plenty to look at with 648. What we're doing here is we're breaking it down from the dependent variable of what kind of study abroad choices did you make that you do not plan to, or haven't decided, or that plan to. And I can quickly look at some, this isn't a very sophisticated way to do it, but I could compare each question mean from each of the responses from study abroad. Let's just do it with one of them, 2.81. We better go 3 digits, 2.18, 2.815, 2.818, 2.89. Yeah, there's not much to look at on that. I'm going to assume the rest of them are kind of like that as well. Tested the equality for the group means. We do show some significance coming in on number 4, contributing to the welfare of your community. So that's interesting. We might need to find some other tests to run to troubleshoot that one. Once again, without our normal distribution on our question here, it's kind of hard to really get excited about that. Let's skip that guy. Boxes M says there's really not anything going on that's too exciting for us. When we look at our 2 different functions, the way the eigenvalues run, those are both showing down in there, but once again, I am not sophisticated enough on this to give any real interpretation to that, I'm going to be honest. Maybe the way we're looking at it in this first category shows some interesting things. I'm going to skip through the rest of this, and once again, we don't really trust this discriminant test since our values were a little skewed. So let's just get through this. Go look at our Kursko-Wallace tests. As we're comparing one at a time, we're comparing study abroad through each of our 7 questions. And the thing I'm going to zero in on really quick is the asymptotic significance. Not showing much on that one. And I described in the other video that now that I've been learning a little bit about this stuff, realizing that a question that asks you to make an opinion is not necessarily going to give us any hard numbers. Yeah, not there. Look at anything there. Let's look at learning effectively on your own. Well, we just crossed the line right there. We're looking for a 0.05. We just got into that one. So maybe learning effectively on your own is important. Nothing going there. Well, that's actually a pretty good one right there. Understanding people of other racial and ethnic backgrounds. Well, that sure makes sense that if you score high on this, that or if you think your institution values this and you're adopting that value, then you would probably want to go check out some other cultures and ethnic backgrounds. We've got not much going on with solving complex problems. Welfare to the community comes in, and that one pinged on our other one, so maybe we really do have something going on there with that guy. All right. We asked to look at correlations. What we're doing when we're looking at correlations, if you want to correlate like height and weight, it's a pretty logical conclusion that the taller you are, probably the heavier you're going to be. You get a sort of a nice upward motion from 0 height and 0 weight up to 10 feet tall and 1,000 pounds. You're going to get sort of an elliptical shape out of that that's pushing up and right if there's a direct correlation. If it were inverse, it would be the taller you get, the lighter you get. It would be going down in a right, but that doesn't make any sense, right? So that's what we're looking for here. This is the how much that's happening scored from -1 to 1. So that's actually not a whole lot of bearing, and it's not statistically significant. So those are the 2 things we're going to be looking at here as we flip through all the questions. Nope. 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 Getting better, but still no. Definitely not. Once again, contributing to the welfare of your community shows up for the 3rd time, although it's not a very strong relationship between the 2 of them. It's slightly in the positive direction, but it's really got some statistical significance going on there. So that's the 3rd time we've seen contributing to the welfare of your community show up. That's very interesting. That's the end of everything I looked at on these squishy, soft opinion questions, and decided let's look at something nice and tough, nice and you know, something you don't choose. It's just a fact. So we'll look at this one. Here's our just the numbers we've got. So we've got 97 African American and Black, only 9 of the American Indian, Alaska Native, and 8 of the Pacific Islander are Asian. That's not going to help us very much. So I'm going to pretty much walk right past those. Caucasian White is a nice big population, and Hispanic is pretty significant. It's let's see, there's 5, 6, 7. So that's 1/7, that's 1/7, and that's 5/7 of our population. All right. Here's just our descriptives again. We're going to blow through those pretty fast. Okay. So, first, this question of study abroad. African American. It's not surprising that most students are not planning on going. You don't get 50% of your population deciding to go study abroad. So what we're looking for is, you know, the expected mean on a normal curve would be 2. So we're gonna look for that. That's actually a lot more than I would have expected on any given group's curve, so that's interesting. The fact that there's only 9 in that sample, I don't care about. 8, I don't care about. This one is interesting. Boy, there's a big difference between this curve and the African American curve. And I know that the frequencies are very different, but just looking at the general shape of the curve, there's a lot more people in the Caucasian and white category that say, no way, not going. As a percentage, or as far as the slope is concerned. Hispanic, also a little less steep from left to right, so that's interesting as well. Let's look at some parametrics on that. There's our ranks again. We've seen that already. This is telling me that there is a significant difference between the different groups. Doesn't tell me which one it is. Just guessing by looking at those slopes, the differences are between these guys and these guys. That the Hispanic and black populations are pretty radically different than the white population. And that says something's up. So let's take a look at it on a one-way. And there's our means. And we're going to compare them. Let's see. Yeah, between groups, the one-way ANOVA is saying, yep, there's definitely a significant difference. Let's look. We use Tukey and Schiffe, and they both pretty much show the same thing here. That, well, this is where we can kind of look at them all at once. When we're comparing to the Caucasian and white, the African American black, big difference in mean right there, and it's backed up with our significant difference. Same thing for Hispanic. It's a pretty big difference. We are 0.4 lower and 0.3, and when we only have a 3-point scale to work with, so that's a lot. It's a big number. A little more significantly different between the white population and the black population than it is from the white to the Hispanic population. Schiffe, you back me up on the same thing. Yeah, a little less significant on the Hispanic, but still pretty equally significant on the black. So that's something we can actually go back and look at if we're going to try and design an intervention for getting more students involved. Looks like as a percentage of population, the black and Hispanic students are a lot more interested in doing a semester abroad. We got to figure out what's going on with our Caucasian/white group and see maybe what the deal is. What we have here. I'm not going to lie. I'm not sure what's up with this one or why it's included. So I don't want to leave it on a sour note there. Let's go back up and show once again that we found that there's some pretty big differences here and here, as evidenced by those figures right there on our significance. Okay, I'm going to submit that and hope that helps shore up the fact that I did not include that in my first round on the video. Okay, have a good night.